The second stop on a three-city road trip for St. Louis. And after taking 2 of 3 over the weekend, we are now in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. All important series inside the Central Division and for the National League wild card race. We flash back a week ago yesterday. Pedro Alvarez in one of the longest games of this Major League Baseball season would go deep. Andrew McCutchen in the 19th inning with a 2-run single to add on. The Pirates would take 2 of 3. And welcome to Cardinals Baseball. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us. And since that time, surprisingly, the Cardinals have played great baseball. You think maybe they go in the tank after such a tough loss. That's not the case. And the team you figure to really jumpstart their season down the stretch, Pittsburgh, only 1 win.
Yeah, it hasn't happened that way, that Pittsburgh would take the momentum and move forward. They've only won 1 of their last 6. Now, they did not have an off day following that 19-inning game, and I think they just got wore out. They flew out to the West Coast, and they have not found their offense. The Cardinals, on the other hand, have won 5 out of 6.
For the Pirates, they get a tough test tonight offensively, facing Kyle Loesch. Outstanding year along with A.J. Burnett. He'll go for the Bucks. Baseball coming up.
Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. By your Mid-America Chevy dealers, the #1 selling brand in St. Louis. Find us at stlchevy.com. By Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers, #1 for quality tires and expert auto service. And by Steak and Shake, just no equal. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome inside PNC Park and inside the Cardinals dugout. And a team that's feeling very good about themselves, as we talked about during the open. Only 1 loss since that devastating loss a week ago from yesterday.
Yeah, the Cardinals feel good, Dan, and on the other hand, the Pirates are starting to feel the pressure a bit. At one point, the Cardinals were the chasers, and now they're the chasees, and the Pirates are certainly feeling the tension of dropping a couple of games behind St. Louis, and we'll see how they handle that pressure. A lot of young players on this Pirates team.
The Cardinals will start play tonight 2.5 games out in the wild card. And after taking 2 of 3 over the weekend, the Redbirds are 6 back in the Central Division behind Cincinnati. A look at the Cardinals lineup, as we told you during the pregame show, another day of rest for David Freese. So it's John Jay, Matt Carpenter at third, filling in for Freese. Then Matt Holliday, 4 hits yesterday. Alan Craig, huge series over the weekend. Then Carlos Beltran, Yadier Molina, Skip Schumacher, another start at second base. We'll get into that momentarily. Rafael Furcal is your 8th place hitter, and the pitcher Kyle Loesch. On the mound, it's A.J. Burnett, the former Yankee and Marlin. He's bounced around a bit, and his numbers brought to you by Enterprise Bank and Trust. Very good season, bounce back season for A.J. Burnett.
His first start as a Pirate was against the Cardinals here. He went 7 solid innings, and he was outstanding. He just kind of showed up at the last minute. Clint Hurdle put him in, and he blanked the Cardinals. Unfortunately for him, the next time he saw St. Louis, he had his worst outing in his career. 12 earned runs in a game on May 2nd in St. Louis. 12 runs on 12 hits, and that's the last time the Redbirds have seen him.
Defense behind A.J. Burnett. Let's take a look. Middle of the pack in the National League as far as errors are concerned. It's brought to you by Dobbs. You know about the speed of McCutchen. He can cover some ground out there. The sure-handed Clint Barmas at short. Rod Barajas is behind the plate. And the defense is brought to you by Dobbs. So again, we'll take another look at this as we're just about into September. We start taking a hard look and counting down how many games are left with tonight's game. There are 35 left for St. Louis. The Cardinals are 6 out in the Central. Pittsburgh 8 back. Pittsburgh in the wild card is 2 back of St. Louis. The Cardinals 70 and 57 in that wild card. Look at Mike Matheny, who's had his ups and downs along the way in his rookie campaign as the Cardinals manager, taking over for Tony La Russa. On the other side, Clint Hurdle, as you mentioned, Rick, he's just trying to get this thing right and hopefully have a strong push in the final month or so.
Yeah, he told me before the game that he's told his team to dig deeper. He said you know how to do that physically as an athlete, but the mental part is much tougher. When you're having a rough go of it, you have to dig deeper and find that there's another level that you can get to, and that's what he's asking of his player.
Here's John Jay. He takes a strike, and we're underway here in Pittsburgh. Light rain in the area. It's 75 degrees. Here's the 0-1 to John Jay. 1 ball, 1 strike, and Jay has really found a home at the top of this lineup for the Cardinals. The last 6 games above 400, and he's been that true table setter for the Cardinals.
And finally starting to get more attention on a national basis as a potential Gold Glover in center.
Check swing, and he went. It's Lance Barksdale down at third, calling the balls and strikes. Field and Colbreth, Adrian Johnson at first, and Gary Cedarstrom is the crew chief. He's at second. 1-2 pitch by A.J. Burnett.
Think, Dan, about how important this first game is. You've got their best going. From the Pirates' point of view, they need to win, want to win with him. They had 9 straight games where he won, and they were used to winning. If he loses, and then you've got to go with a couple younger guys against a team that's red hot offensively like the Cardinals, it could be a tough series for Pittsburgh.
2-2 pitch. And Clint Hurdle, the manager of the Pirates, is, we know Rick is the eternal optimist, and a lot of people believe he is the right guy for this particular situation. He was the right guy for Colorado, guided the Rockies to a World Series appearance, and they're hoping that may just happen here in Pittsburgh.
Clint went on to say that not only do I want my players to dig deeper mentally, but I want them to remember to play the game like they did in the backyard when it was wiffle ball. And I want them to have both of those things going on at the same time. That's when I think players play at their best.
He is without Neil Walker tonight. Late scratch in their lineup. Sore back. And that's a big loss for this team. Ground ball left side. Alvarez spins, throws wide, and the leadoff man is on for St. Louis, and that's John Jay.
Error number 21 on the season for Alvarez, who's killed the Cardinals with the bat, but he has not been very good defensively. That's a ton of errors. It's just a wide throw. Pirates were here early, Dan, at 3 o'clock working on infield practice, PFP. They've been struggling a bit in the field. They have some new faces, and things not starting out in the right direction for them.
Remember the last time that we were here, there was talk that Alvarez could be sent down, but he got things together at the plate. Everyday third baseman, and now third baseman for St. Louis, at least for tonight. Matt Carpenter has really had a solid season in 86 games. A .310 average, the 4 home runs, and he's driven in 33.
Something tells me if Matt Carpenter was 0 for his last 12, we might be seeing David Freese today.
And Freese telling us before the game, as you get a look at the numbers for Carpenter in August, that he is available to pinch hit. He feels good enough to do that. They want to give him another night of rest. It's a banged up team right now with Molina and Freese nursing some injuries, but at this point in the season, so what? You have to play through them. Carpenter is a natural third baseman. Pops it up left side and out of play. So the question now becomes early on in this game for Mike Matheny. You have a guy in Matt Carpenter that doesn't strike out very often. A young team like Pittsburgh that's reeling. You think about the bunt, the hit and run, straight steal. How much pressure does Mike want to put on Clint Hurdle?
I think it ought to be ultimate pressure, because you've got a catcher in Rod Barajas who's thrown out only 7% of his runners this year. So I say any chance, I say run till you're tired. Just keep going.
Jay is leaning, not running, and the pitch is hit out to center. McCutchen, a late break, but an easy catch for him. Former track star in high school, and truly one of the great players now in Major League Baseball. Puts it away for the out, and it brings in Holiday. Mentioned that McCutchen is an MVP candidate, and right now in that conversation, Matt Holliday with those 89 RBIs. Big day yesterday.
First in the National League in RBIs. He's jumped ahead of Beltran and Ryan Braun. And he went through a period during the homestand where he was not swinging the bat well, but he's back on track now.
First pitch to Holliday. Tapped foul. To follow up your point about David Freese and even Molina talking about it after the game yesterday, that a lot of the opposing teams now are really trying to bust Holliday, Freese, Molina inside, whether or not to back them off the plate or just by design, just to pitch them there because they're picking up a tendency, a weakness. But we're seeing a lot of opposing pitchers do that.
Yeah, and the problem that poses for somebody like David Freese is he likes to stick his nose out over the plate. And so getting hit by a pitch, he was very clear about the fact that he kind of walked into it a bit, so it's partially his fault, but he just doesn't want to give away that outside corner.
Oh, Jay is picked off. Jones running at him. The tag is applied. 2 away. Rick, you talked about it. Part of our Toyota keys to the game. A.J. Burnett against St. Louis this year, record of 1-1, the high ERA, but against the rest of Major League Baseball, look at that record, 14-3, and opponents only hitting .236 as opposed to the lofty numbers for St. Louis.
Well, 12 earned runs in one game is going to mess up your ERA for an entire season, and look at the numbers against the rest of the league. That's indicative of just how good he's been. Veteran, 12 years in Major League Baseball. Started out with Florida, went to Toronto, then the Yankees.
The Yankees were done with him, so much so that they're eating much of the salary that's owed to A.J. Burnett, the remainder of his deal. And the Pirates were happy to take him. The 1-1 pitch. Holliday, bouncer, right side. Harrison diving for it, gets up and throws, but it's not in time. They have the shift on for Holliday. Fans applaud the effort there by Harrison, who can play the outfield as well.
And a shame that John Jay gets picked off. If he was able to wait and get the right pitch, steal second base. We said run till you're tired, but I guess we should have qualified that as make sure the pitcher goes home first. I don't think Barajas would have had a chance of throwing him out. This would have put him at third base, and it would have been an RBI situation for Alan Craig. Although when he's in the box right now, it's an RBI situation.
He's had a tremendous season and one of the best RBI men in baseball right now, even though the numbers aren't among the leaders because of missed time of that first month. But still, he is considered one of the best right now in all of Major League Baseball. Inside to Alan Craig.
He hits the Pirates very well. There's his numbers: 20 home runs, 71 RBIs. The Cardinals now with 4 hitters with 70+ RBIs, and Yadier Molina will follow soon.
Short lead at first by Holliday. Room to the right side. And Craig looks at a strike. Would it surprise you if I told you Matt Holliday had 28 steals one year? That was back in 2008 with the Colorado Rockies.
A bit.
A bit is probably right. Not totally shocked.
I like the way he runs the bases.
Very short lead at first. In the hole now, 1 ball and 2 strikes on Alan Craig. "27 games, the 5 home runs, nearly a .400 average. And Craig bounces it back to A.J. Burnett. Steps and throws a strike to first. Kyle Loesch to the mound. When we come back, no score after a half inning. Jose Tabata will lead things off for the Pirates, and then Travis Snyder, Andrew McCutchen, Garrett Jones, Pedro Alvarez, Josh Harrison, Rod Barajas, Clint Barmas, and A.J. Burnett. Outstanding season this year put together by right-hander Kyle Loesch.
Can't be much better than what we've seen out of Kyle Loesch. He has tremendous control, not only throwing strikes, but even within the strike zone. He stays out of the middle of the plate, doesn't give up a lot of hits. In fact, in his 4 starts in the month of August, he's given up 4 or less hits in each one of those games, Dan. And walks per 9 inning, 6th best in the National League, just 1.7 walks per 9.
Underway here in the bottom of the first, and a fastball. A strike at the knees to Tabata, left fielder that can play all 3 outfield positions for Clint Barmas. There's a ground ball that's chopped to short for Cowell. Makes the play. Watch for Cowell play, and you see he still has that very, very strong arm deep in the hole. It's short, makes it look easy. Holiday, Jay, and Beltran in the outfield. It's Carpenter for Cowell on the left side. Schumacher, Craig on the right side. Molina's behind the plate. And the defense is brought to you by Dobbs.
Mentioned Carpenter's natural position at third base, spelling David Freese while he continues to heal, and that ball hit him in the side of the wrist. And as you think about where that ball hit David Freese, that could have been so much worse. And he is available to pinch hit today, and we'll see him back soon. But I mean, within a 1/4 of an inch of hitting right on the bone on his wrist, which would have been a problem.
Schumacher makes the play, 2 outs. First 2 retired. And it brings in Andrew McCutchen, and with him coming up, it's our first bank, first take. And the first 91 games, arguably the MVP of those first 91 games. The last 32, though, very much a different story for Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, the Pirate broadcasters asked him if he's maybe wearing out a little bit or tiring out, and they say absolutely not. He's just such a physical specimen. It's not that. He may be expanding his zone a bit too much, trying to be the offense of the Pirates, which frankly he is, especially when Neil Walker's not in the lineup, and maybe feeling that pressure. He's actually a guy that knows the strike zone well, but when you feel like you have to be the guy that drives in every run, sometimes you get a little over anxious.
During batting practice today, Clint Hurdle said all he wanted McCutchen to do is try to hit everything either up the middle or to right field so that he stays on these pitches. They feel he's really pulling off a lot of pitches
and jumping a bit, and that's, they really go hand in hand. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with being over anxious and not relaxed enough at the plate, and really letting the pitcher come to you.
The 2-1 is a rope out to center field, but Jay is there to make the catch. A 1-2-3 inning. Beltran, Molina, Schumacher coming up. We're scoreless. Let's take you back to the last pitch by Kyle Loesch, and in many ways this season has been defined by his changeup. It's been very good this year.
Yeah, very good changeup, but Andrew McCutchen does a good job of keeping his hands back and his weight back just long enough to center that ball and drive it. But McCutchen in a bit of a slump of late. What happens when you're in a slump? You line out to the center fielder, and 1-2-3 inning for Kyle Loesch.
And Beltran fights it off, but a little liner to short. Barmas puts it away for the first out. One away, and it brings in Yadier Molina. Good to see that Yadi is healthy enough and just about playing in every single game now down the stretch. Our dynamic deal of the day. Great deals for games still this season. And we have the Mets coming to town September 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Pavilion level tickets only $10. Only $10. The Mets in St. Louis next week. Cardinals.com to get your tickets.
Been watching Yadier Molina very closely this series. He's had an ankle issue, which has caused him to be a little uncomfortable at the plate. And really, the last 3 innings of the final game against the Reds, we weren't sure he was going to be able to get through that contest, and he just kind of gutted it out. And he said he's not going to do something to hurt the team, and he's not going to do something to hurt himself to the point where it's going to put him out of the lineup for an extended period. But he said, it's the Reds, I got to play.
Sure, their fans appreciated that too.
No doubt.
Little check swing, and
the boos kind of got less as the series went on.
Is that right?
Not sure why. They got tired of booing, maybe.
2 away, and it brings in Skip Schumacher. And one of the most popular topics among the fan base of the St. Louis Cardinals, Skip Schumacher and his playing time. Well, we're starting to get more answers now down the stretch where Skip is getting starts, and clearly, just going on numbers alone offensively, he deserves to start. Batting .312. He's been terrific with runners in scoring position. It's going to be tough for him to get time in the outfield. We know that. Holiday, Jay, Beltran out there. But second base is open, especially with Descalso's struggles offensively.
And I think that's what's made the choice a little easier right now for Mike Matheny. If Descalso was hitting better, I think he'd throw in his defense, which is a bit better, and you'd say, well, maybe it's a toss-up on certain days based on the matchup. But with Descalso struggling a bit with the bat, I think Schumacher makes sense. I know that when Skip's in the lineup, I get probably 20 tweets of people saying it's about time, it's about time. When Descalso's in, he's got his own crew that's kind of supporting him. So a lot of opinions out there about what Mike Matheny should be doing.
If Jake Westbrook is on the mound, it makes a lot of sense to have Descalso somewhere on the infield. You're going to get a lot of ground balls if he's right. Range is much better than Skip's, and Skip would tell you that too. 2-1 pitch.
Good thing they like him and respect each other.
We're not talking about the 27 Yankees here, but Schumacher does add to what already is one of the best lineups in the division, in the National League, in baseball. The 2-2. That goes to the kind of guy Skip is too, though, in the clubhouse, and the fact that he has accepted that role and was told that would be his role going into this season too.
Earl Coombs, Tony Lazzeri, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig.
You're all over it.
You mean we're not those guys?
No, we are not. This is popped up into shallow left field. Sabatai is there. A 1-2-3 inning for A.J. Burnett. Jones, Alvarez, Harrison coming up. Scoreless midway through 2. Here's Garrett Jones. He takes a pitch high. The first baseman for Pittsburgh. Remember, beginning of the season, he was platooning with Casey McGee, the former Milwaukee Brewer, who's now with the Yankees, as he was traded for Chad Qualls. Give the Pirates a boost in their bullpen. So Garrett Jones seeing the bulk of the playing time now at first base.
And he's putting up big numbers too, and you'd have to sign me up for being wrong about this guy. A guy that played a lot in the minor leagues, finally got a chance in the big leagues and had a big year. I thought, well, maybe he'll be a flash in the pan, and then started to go south, and I thought, here we go, he's going to find his level again. But yet he's turned it around, putting up big power numbers, 21 homers, 69 RBI.
Majority of his damage done against right-handers a year ago, and again this season. He hits a fly ball out to left. Holiday under it for the out. Rick, if you had to break down Kyle Loesch and somebody had not even seen him pitch at all this year, then they look at the numbers and they say, okay, 13-2, 2.61, the winning percentage, one of the best in all of baseball. I haven't seen this guy pitch. What's made him so special?
Well, I would say think Greg Maddux, and then you'd find a guy that's like him. Now, I'm not saying he's Greg Maddux, but very similar in terms of his command and his movement and late movement, and just attacks certain spots of the strike zone where he knows the hitters aren't going to hurt him. So bottom line is the guy can pitch. P-I-T-C-H, not throw. I don't care about his miles per hour. Don't care about the 17 pitches that he throws. This is a guy that just understands how to pitch.
It's a great point for some of the young fans and young pitchers that watch our telecasts. You know, you only see Loesch really topping out around 91, 92 miles an hour, but he spots the fastball. He's effective in and out. Nothing over the middle of the plate. Changes speeds. That pitch at 73 miles an hour. And he was telling me he feels that this season he has the greatest feel that he's ever had for his changeup, which has been so effective this season.
One of the main differences between being a AAA pitcher and a big league pitcher is when you get here, you're not allowed to make as many mistakes because the hitters will jump on it. And you may throw 8 to 10 pitches that are hangers in the minor leagues and still pick up the win, and you can't do that here. So it's not what you can do in terms of velocity, is what you keep from doing in terms of the mistakes that set you apart at this level.
The 2-2 is ripped foul by Alvarez with the 23 home runs. He's driven in 63. Josh Harrison is on deck as the rain is picked up. Some of the folks start to head for cover. The 2-2. Got him on the outside corner. Strikeout for Loesch. 5 straight to start the game for Kyle Loesch.
I'm looking for the fireworks because we got Alvarez out. And here's the pinpoint control we were talking about. Right on the back door. Might not have been a strike, but he does stay out of the middle of the plate. And that's what makes him good.
Josh Harrison, who came over from the Chicago Cubs, the 24-year-old, showing bunt. Came over in a deal for John Grabo and Tom Gorzolani. At 272 last year in 72 games, and this season he's at 236. Pirates at 9 games above 500 with just about a month to go, and trying to break that losing skid of 19 consecutive seasons. They're coming off their 7th straight 90-loss campaign, and the 19 consecutive losing seasons is a record for North American sports franchises.
Trying to figure out the right balance of rooting for them to have a winning season, but for them not to be the wild card. Is that asking for too much?
I would say, you know, take advantage when they're down, but it's been 2 decades. And here's a very important game, very important series, and yet the crowd is sparse here tonight. Weather has something to do with that, with the rain in the forecast and rain right now. Yachty just peeking at Harrison to see if he was peeking. Out in front and pops it up into shallow left. Holiday calling off for Kyle, and that's 6 up, 6 down to start the night for Kyle Loesch. A strikeout of Pedro Alvarez. His first of the night, maybe the first of many. Cards and Pirates on Fox Sports Midwest. Well, a little history here tonight that you probably didn't realize. Winning combinations, the road starter, home starter. This is since 1969. And these high winning percentages, at least 15 decisions, and tonight Loesch and Burnett. This matchup historically since 1969, on paper one of the better ones we've seen. All on paper, but so far so good on both sides. Top of the 3rd underway. Loesch has had 6 up and 6 down. A.J. Burnett pitching around an error and a base hit in the 1st inning, and there's no score. For Kyle, Loesch, and Jay for St. Louis. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Pat Perez has joined us here in this 3rd inning. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Can I interject something here, Mr. McLaughlin?
This is why we have you in here, Pat.
Interject away.
I had Adam Wainwright as a pregame guest. Had a lot of fun with him. Enjoyed the conversation. We get done and he forgot to say hello to his daughters. And he had me say it again at the end of the pregame show. But I want to give a shout out again to Bailey, Morgan, and Macy. He dropped the ball.
So if you cover for him twice, do you think that really gets him out of the doghouse?
I hope. I'm just trying to help him out.
I'm thinking not.
Probably not, but I'm doing the best I can. Because
it's like, hey, hello from Uncle
forget.
Pat's not the same.
No, you're right about that.
There's a 3-1 pitch, and that's strike 2. 3-2 on Furcal. Rick, you've been watching now Furcal day in and day out. Which side of the plate do you think he feels most comfortable right now dealing with those back issues?
That's a really good question. You know, he's always been more of a power guy from the right side, but kind of the slap hitting player that he is from the left side, I think he's more comfortable there because he does a lot of things kind of with half swings, and I think that works well with his back.
That time he pulled it and grounded out. MLB.TV, it's the 10th anniversary right now, and a subscription is available for you for just $10. For details, visit MLB.TV or text MLB.TV to 31826. Baseball is everywhere.
We haven't mentioned, guys, that the Cardinals now have 4 13-game winners on this team, with Wainwright winning his last outing. Kyle Loesch now with a chance to go to 14. And really is a mark of a good team when you have a solid rotation from top to bottom. You add Joe Kelly into that mix. I don't think Lance Lynn is particularly happy about being taken out of that rotation, but you wouldn't want him to be happy about it.
No, of course you wouldn't want him to be, and he's not, but he understands his role now. And Mike Matheny talked today to the media about what kind of role Lance Lynn will have, at least for the short term. And he's probably going to give him tonight. We might see him tonight. Definitely going to see him by tomorrow if need be, but it'll probably be in a relief role of one of the relievers, say Edward Mojica, because Mojica's been used a lot since he's come over here to become a Cardinal, and it's kind of that kind of pitcher that Lance Lynn can be, Rick. And if you've got the 7, 8, 9 going so well right now, you don't want to interrupt that, but sometimes those guys need nights off.
And you almost have the 6, 7, 8, 9 going well,
With
because Salas has been much better.
Yes.
0-2 here on Kyle Loesch with Jay on deck, and he loses the bat on a rainy night here in Pittsburgh. Well, he's striking him out, and now he throws the bat in their dugout. Loesch strikes out for the first K of the night for A.J. Burnett. Going back to the point of Lance Lynn, and Rick, you were quite vocal about this, that you think it's much harder for a guy like Lance Lynn, and we've been talking about this now for the last month and a half, for him to go into the bullpen.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about it back then, it was about the amount of innings that were piling up. As you get a look at John Jay for the second time tonight, he reached on an air, then was picked off. So I would assume that has to be a concern for Derek Lilliquist and Dyer Miller and Mike Matheny.
Yeah, and the point we've been making, Dan, is that when you go to the bullpen, you're going to throw more often. And so that's a different kind of arm shape than a guy that can go 6+ innings. So you're in danger of hurting your arm in a different way. I would say throughout the course of a normal year, the bullpen guys' arms hurt way more than the starters. So you're going to have to take care of Lance Lynn in that bullpen.
1-2-3 inning for A.J. Burnett. We're settling in. Game 1 of 3 against the Bucks. Beautiful shot of the skyline and also your head, Rick.
It makes it better, doesn't it?
It's a gorgeous skyline, even in a rainy night.
I'm just trying to enjoy it. Every time I come to Pittsburgh, I'm just in awe of this view that we have here. And I would say rivaled only by what we see in San Francisco from our vantage point there.
I agree.
I don't think people believe us when we say that.
No, they have to come here, and folks that do then agree with us once they get here and they get a chance to walk around the park, and it looks like it's not real.
Would you like me to stand
But
up
it is.
and point things out to you? Or
You want
just-
to wave?
Probably
Can
not.
you wave to everybody?
Probably shouldn't.
0-2 the count on Rod Barajas. Reaching for it, pops it up into shallow right, and Schumacher makes the catch. So Jason Mott is now in that 30 save club season, and we know about Pittsburgh's closer, one of the better ones certainly inside this division. So if it comes down to the closers, two very good ones, Pat, in this series.
And Joel Hanrahan leads the National League with 34 saves, but he's only had one opportunity since August 8th. Meantime, in that same time frame, Jason Mott has had 6 saves, and he's converted 30 of 35 opportunities. So it's, as the Pirates have now struggled over their last 17 games, 5 and 12, they just haven't had the opportunities for Hanrahan, while the Cardinals are playing some of their best baseball.
One of those unfair things about a closer is really hard to pile up a lot of saves when you're on a team that is in the second division. Think about Mariano Rivera, as good as the Yankees were, and all the numbers that he piled up, and really helps when your team's winning.
Well, Jason Mott had trouble just getting opportunities for a little while there, you know, in May and June and early, and then suddenly in July began to have a lot of them.
8th place hitter Clint Barmas. 2 balls and 1 strike with A.J. Burnett on deck.
Glenn Hurdle also has a very, very good 8th inning pitcher. I mean, a lights out guy in Grilly.
Remember, a couple of years ago, they were trying to decide which one was which, and they would flip them back and forth until they finally decided on Hanrahan.
Grilly strikeout per 9 innings is ridiculous.
2-2 the count on former Rocky Clint Barmas. Also an Indiana State Sycamore, the Missouri Valley Conference. Taken just a bit low. Think about the St. Louis based MVC, and they put out some outstanding Major League Baseball talent, led by the gang at Wichita State.
The Shockers.
3-2 pitch on the outside corner. Goodbye. That's strikeout number 2 for Loesch. There's that pinpoint control that we speak of.
So he doesn't just give in. 3-2. Let me throw the ball right down the middle. I'm going to paint the outside corner, or maybe outside the outside corner as we look at it on Fox Tracks, but too close to tape for Barmas. And again, a pitcher's pitch.
The Cardinals will have Carpenter, Holiday, Craig coming up. And Alan Craig, Pat, is now in that cleanup spot, and it just looks like he's really settled into that particular spot in the lineup for Mike Matheny.
And Mike likes wherever Alan Craig hits. He was hitting in the 2-hole, did a terrific job. He's been down at 5, but right now, with the way things are sitting, with Matt Holliday obviously entrenched in the 3 spot, and Carlos Beltran struggling a little bit at times, and he's been more fluid 2nd, 4th, 5th, and you're still waiting for the return of a Lance Berkman. It's the perfect spot for him. And Mike Matheny has been so impressed with Alan Craig's maturity at such a young age.
We'll get a chance to look at Craig coming up. He's due 3rd. We'll see you on the postgame. Nice job, Pat. No score here in Pittsburgh. Both these pitchers look sharp tonight. Rainy, cool evening in Pittsburgh. Kyle Loesch and A.J. Burnett.
And they're going to have to deal with the elements a bit as we do have the rain. You see Kyle Loesch working on his spikes, making sure that he has enough traction. And the utensils to do that with have certainly improved over time. It used to be a little tongue depressor, which half the time it would break. Now they have a little fancier tool. I like the way the game has progressed, Dan.
Where's Al Hrabosky when you need him?
And there's a tool on the back of the rubber.
That is Al's favorite comment through the season. Only thing, Dan, they've done for a pitcher in the last 25 years.
I thought I'd heard that somewhere before.
Then Tom Mee, our director, goes right in on that. And we just move on.
Oh, I was proud to be a part of that.
There's a strike at the knees to Matt Carpenter, underway here in the top of the 4th. She talked about earlier, it was Double-A Altoona where A.J. Burnett was at. And they needed help right away, so Burnett essentially an emergency starter beginning of the season because he started the year on the disabled list. He had a fractured orbital bone when he was working on a bunting drill in spring training.
And they thought he was going to have one more minor league start, and they were in a really a problem situation at the big league level because other pitchers weren't ready and they just needed somebody to make a start. And they thought, well, why keep him down there? We don't know what he's going to do up here, but you know, we need the innings, so let's forget that minor league rehab start and bring him in cold. And he was outstanding. 7 solid innings.
Here's a 1-2. The fastball, and take it for a ball by Carpenter.
It's a nice, easy, smooth delivery, and the ball just jumps out of his hand.
Sure does. The 35-year-old has pitched for the Marlins, Blue Jays, Yankees, and now Pittsburgh.
You think about the maximum effort pitchers that have their legs and arms flying everywhere, and they're driving to the plate and they're grunting, and you've got a guy that's just, you hardly think of him as breathing hard the way he delivers the baseball, but then at the end he explodes, and that's where he gets the velocity from, and that's where he gets the movement from.
Cardinals have had all the base runners tonight. There's been a total of 1 base hit. That was Holiday, who steps in now. John Jay started the game by reaching on an error by their third baseman. Then he was picked off. Holiday had a base hit right side. A diving stop by Harrison, but came up just a bit shy in the throw to first. Popped up right side. Long way to go, but that will find the seats out of play.
Holiday trying to push one again through that right side. Harrison had a long way to go with that first ground ball, but he is not given an inch. He's still playing very close to the bag at second, hoping for a double play, but not a betting man, Dan, as you know. But I would say Holiday is going to do everything he can to hit that ball through the right side. He hits the ball very well the other way.
Runner at first, Matt Carpenter, leadoff walk. No balls, 1 strike on Holiday. Outfield is deep. Holiday rips it out to right center. McCutchen back near the track and makes the catch. Matt Holiday is 1 for 2, along with Rick Horton, Pat Paris. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Very important series in the Central Division, also for the wild card of the National League. PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Game 1 of 3 and all 3 contests right here on Fox Sports Midwest. Here's Craig, who bounced back to A.J. Burnett his first time up. A.J. Burnett, the fractured orbital bone when he was working on a bunting drill. He's had some injuries make you scratch your head in his career. He broke a bone when he stepped into a gutter while bowling. Broke his other foot one time just walking during spring training. Blistered his throwing hand while ironing a pair of jeans. These things happen, Rick, in the course of a long major league career, and he's had that.
I'm just thinking about each one of those situations one by one, and one's funnier than the next to probably everybody but him.
Not sure which one would be worse. The iron causing a blister. He also had a torn ligament in his hand during fielding practice.
I mean, don't you have to kind of be ironing the wrong way for that to happen?
That's what I thought too. Craig is out at first. Nice play down at third. Pedro Alvarez. Coming up, the Cardinals take on the Brewers. Kids ages 15 and younger. Entering the ballpark with a ticket, receive a collectible Cardinals pennant courtesy of Coca-Cola and the Pasta House. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit cardinals.com. And again, those $10 dynamic deal seats are available for the Met series beginning on Monday.
So not a lot of opportunities so far offensively for either club. Who's going to blink first? who's going to take advantage of a runner in scoring position. Will it be Carlos Beltran? 85 RBIs on the season. Been slowed a bit the last couple of weeks with a hand issue. Not exactly 100%, but still dangerous in the middle of that lineup.
A soft liner to short, first time up. He's 0 for 1. Carpenter, the runner at second, started the inning with a leadoff walk. Oh, 1 pitch. 0-2. Beltran telling me on the last homestand that in all his years of baseball, whether it was growing up in Puerto Rico or his time with the Royals, Houston, great numbers with them. His time in New York, he said this season for him has been his most enjoyable on and off the field. A swing and a miss as he strikes out. He's 0 for 2, and the second strikeout for A.J. Burnett. Cardinals strand a runner, their second of the night. Midway through 4, there's no score. National telecast this weekend, and there's a strike. And we're underway here in the bottom half of the 4th. Tabata, Snyder, and McCutchen. Ground ball and the first base hit and first base runner of the night for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Tabata has hit over 300 against the Cardinals this year. Actually got sent back to AAA with the work of Starling Marte, but Marte has an oblique strain, so he's on the disabled list. So they brought Tabata back. And again, he has hit the Cardinals very well. He's 8 for 20 in stolen bases, and you'd have to go a long way to try to find somebody who's been caught stealing at such a big rate as Jose Tabata. 8 for 20. At some point, you got to stop going.
Certainly, you wouldn't think that your percentages are going to be on the uptick with Mr. Molina behind the plate.
Pirates only 56% of the time have been safe stealing.
Wow.
Even Andrew McCutchen's just 1 for his last 7.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike to Snyder. Grounded out to second, his first time up. No score here in the bottom of the 4th. Third baseman Matt Carpenter even with the bag. Outfield straightaway. Craig holding it first. The 1-1 pitch. We just expect anymore that Kyle Loesch will keep you in a ball game, and more times than not give you that chance to win. Second lowest ERA in the National League this month. Starting play tonight in the month of August, 1.01, and the lowest opponent's batting average at just 160 the month of August.
And Loesch has not been in the stretch all night. He's having a hard time getting the right release point out of the stretch. He's delivering the ball a little bit high, maybe rushing a bit to the plate. When you're in your windup, you get this rhythm and this cadence and this tempo, and now all of a sudden you go to the stretch, and again his arms dragging just a bit and the ball's up.
See if they want to start. The runner was leaning just a bit. 3 balls and 1 strike on Snyder. You know Spanish? We're hearing some of the Spanish down there.
I think he said, I'm 8 for 20. You sure? That's the loose translation.
I got you. Let's see if he goes with another changeup here. Tabata is not running. It's a changeup. He left it up. Base hit into right. Tabata to second. And he'll wind up at third.
And when we talk about up, we're not talking about shoulder high up. I mean, up can be belt high, thigh high up. And that pitch a little bit higher than Kyle Loesch wanted a little flatter in terms of the way the changeup broke. So Snyder's able to keep his hands back, drive it to right, top it out of third.
Back-to-back hits, and now Andrew McCutchen. Runners at first and third.
Much better there. He was on top. His back longer into his delivery, was able to throw downhill and get the ball down in the strike zone. Don't want to make a mistake with this guy at the plate, that's for sure.
Combination of speed and power. 24 home runs this year. 2-0. The 2-0 pitch. Up the middle, base hit. Pirates strike first. McCutchen with RBI number 79. And boy, did Pittsburgh need that.
And how about the way Andrew McCutchen attacked that baseball? Really was not a bad pitch from Loesch. He was behind in the count. But McCutchen was looking for fastball and quick hands. Here's the delivery, actually a changeup from Loesch on 2-0. And even in slow motion, that bat speed was something else for McCutchen.
Garrett Jones flied out to left. First time up. Runners at first and second. He takes strike one.
So Kyle Loesch in his last 4 starts, 4 or less hits in each one of those games. He's given up 3 in this inning. And one of the ways we've seen Kyle Loesch develop as a Cardinal and as a pitcher over the last few years is his ability to minimize damage. That's his task here.
Rain is picked up again here at PNC Park. 2 balls and 1 strike. The 2-1. 2-2.
Frustration can be an enemy of confidence for a pitcher. That feeling that something good's going to happen. I know what I'm going to do. Here, hit it. When you start to get those feelings of frustration for whatever reason, at yourself, at your defense, at the weather, it can start to seep into your mental state of mind as a pitcher.
Reaching for it, lines it into center. The catch made by Jay. Fires a strike back into the infield. Runners retreat to first and second. So Jones is 0 for 2. Brings in Alvarez, who struck out looking his first time up. That was the first strikeout of 3 tonight for Kyle Loesch.
don't want to take credit away from Alvarez, the hitter, but the Cardinals sure have made a lot of mistakes to him this year. He has 16 RBIs, hefty batting average, a lot of home runs, and a lot of them have been on pitches that have not been good pitches.
Here's a 1-0. And last time we saw him, it was a home run for Barrett Browning, who since has been sent to the minor leagues.
Again, the credit that's due him is you still have to do something with that hanger.
It's been one of the issues for the Cardinals, the left side of their bullpen this year. When we were here back in late April, Romero was paired up with Zipchinski. Zipchinski has been up and down this year. Stopgap has been a guy like Romero, Barrett Browning.
Cardinals tried Fuentes.
2-1 is a base hit into right field. Will they test Beltran? They'll hold up the runner. Smart move. Bases are loaded. It's 4 hits in the inning. 5 hitters have come to the plate.
Beltran's been very good of late with his arm, throwing out a lot of runners, up to 8 assists in right field for St. Louis. So I think that was not lost on the Pirates. And Nick Leyva, the former Cardinal coach, the third base coach, 1 hopper, make it 2 that Beltran handles. There's the jump, had to wait just for a split second. Did Snyder. Leyva said no mas.
So the bases are loaded for Harrison. Flied out to left his first time up. Ball 1. One ball, 1 strike.
If Kyle can get out of this inning, and he certainly has the ability to do so, it'll seem like an awful lot of activity for 1 run from his point of view, and he'll be happy. And the Pirates will look at it as, we did all of that and that's all we got. So really key moment in this game, what happens here with Loesch and this part of the Pirates lineup.
The 1-1 is hit out to left. Holiday on the move and makes the catch on the run. McCutchen does not tag up from second base. Will that be costly as Snyder scores the second run of the ball game? Again, it's been raining for the better part of this afternoon and into the evening, so it's a slippery track out there, and you can see it just took Holiday a little bit to get going and get that footing, making that play on the run.
And I can see McCutchen thinking, hey, this ball might be down and I'm going to try to score, because this may be a tough play for Holiday to make in the rain. He runs it down. Actually a bit of a snow cone there at the end as well. So McCutchen doesn't score, but I think he also thinks he's got the speed to score on a base hit from second without much problem.
Now if you're Loesch, you're thinking you can get out of this inning with only 2 runs allowed. Barajas is right at the 200 mark in batting this year. 9 home runs. He's driven in 24. .182 with runners in scoring position. He's in the hole, 0-2. Runners at first and second, and an 0-2 pitch by Loesch.
Think about the next level of development of a pitcher like Lance Lynn. Early in the season, as awesome as he was, that's kind of easy when you're feeling good like that, striking out 10 guys a game. But what about when your arm doesn't feel great or your stuff's not as good? How do you win those games anyway and not have big innings and get taken out in the 3rd or 4th inning? I think that's Lynn's next level, and it's something that Kyle Loesch has learned.
Here's a 1-2. Reaching for it and hits it out of play. And again, we talked about it earlier that Clint Hurdle may see Lance Lynn tonight. But more than likely, we'll see him at some point in this series. And Joe Kelly will be part of the rotation. And we saw him part of that 19-inning game, and he pitched wonderfully well out of the bullpen against Clint's club. And couldn't ask any more out of Joe Kelly in that 19-inning game.
Watch out. That's getting the head out right there. Oh my. That scattered the Pirates dugout.
Your buddy Nick Leyva right there.
Very good friend. Good baseball man.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Rod Barajas. Out in front.
Clint Hurdle has been lamenting the fact that his club is not producing in situations just like this. Runners aboard with 2 outs. Has to be happy with that at bat from Josh Harrison. Sacrifice fly, situational hitting. But part of the reason they're 1-5 in their last 6 games is they're not getting hits in situations just like this.
Again, another 1-2 pitch. Here it comes. High fly ball, right field. Beltran back with room and makes the catch on the track. Clint Hurdle and the Pirates strike first in this series. 2-0. We head to the 5th.
Two 2-0 Pirates in the early going. Yadier Molina will lead it off for St. Louis in the 5th. Yadier Molina behind the plate. He has been dealing with some ankle issues, and watch how late he sets up and gives a target to Kyle Loesch, who's all ready to deliver this pitch. And just now, Molina puts the target up. I think he's worried that maybe the Pirates are peaking a bit and does not want to give away whether it's an inside or outside target. But that can be an issue for a pitcher if he's not seeing a clear glove when he's getting ready to deliver the baseball. That's part of what pitching is. You have to throw to a target. Yadier Molina trying to help his staff out, but that one might have been a bit late.
We saw Yadi do that, take an extended look at Josh Harrison. Remember in that at bat to see if he was peaking, and then set up outside late when that pitch was delivered. Molina on the night 0 for 1. The Cardinals 1 base hit against A.J. Burnett as we move to the top of the 5th. I'm sure there's a lot of the folks that follow the Yankees wondering, why wasn't this the type of pitcher we could have seen last year or the year before? And A.J. Burnett helped them win a world championship a couple of years ago. Josh Beckett, by the way, will make his Dodgers debut tonight in Colorado against the Rockies.
And the Red Sox fans may have the same lament.
You have to wonder, Rick, about leaving the American League, not seeing a DH in the National League, and leaving arguably the toughest division in baseball, the American League East, and then pitching in the National League. That will be a resurgence for Josh Beckett.
Well, there's been some dysfunction going on in that team beyond what happens on the field, and that's gone on for the last couple of years in Boston. And teams go through stretches like that. They're trying to figure that out, what the cause of that is and how they can get better going forward. But sometimes it's good to leave that kind of environment and go to a team that really has a good shot at the division and, of course, the wild card. They're right behind the Cardinals, and that's a team that we're going to have to watch, both the Dodgers and Arizona.
Chad Billingsley is out, and so Beckett slides right into their rotation. Nick Punto, who's kind of the afterthought in that trade, you would have to think would help them out off the bench, and we know that he was so versatile a season ago for the Cardinals. He had 3 hits in the World Series and can play short, second or third.
As much as the Dodgers love their uniforms and think that that's the greatest uniform,
the shredder is in the house.
Shredder, no, I'm not sure that's going to work out in LA.
You get Adrian Gonzalez, who not only is a terrific bat for their lineup, but you would think a draw for that community. Grew up in that area, Southern California, and also in Tijuana, so he was back and forth watching Dodger games and the San Diego Padres. And then you get the enigma that is Carl Crawford as well, who's really, his stint in Boston was an absolute nightmare with wrist injuries and Tommy John surgery. A 3-2 pitch. Molina, base hit into right. Just watching Yachty run down that first base line. He clearly is not even close to 100%. You saw him really favored on a few of those swings too.
Really just arm swinging at this point. He's just trying to get the bat on the ball any way he knows how, but not a lot of drive from his lower half. He's dealing with that ankle issue, and so not a lot of movement from Yachty. And very kind of A to B as far as running the bases right now, and I think that's what he's being told to do, and I'd rather have him in there doing that than not playing.
In particular, you're talking about what he means, especially defensively behind the plate, calling the game, understanding the opposition and his relationship with Loesch on the mound tonight. Very short lead by Molina as Schumacher has a rip at it and fouls it back.
And it's no offense to Tony Cruz, who's done a very nice job as a backup catcher and is also swinging the bat well lately himself. But if there's one Cardinal you can't afford to lose, it's number 4. You can talk about the production of Matt Holliday and Carlos Beltran and the defense of John Jay, and all that matters, and David Freese and Alan Craig, but the one that you can't replace is Yadier Molina.
One ball and 1 strike. A.J. Burnett wears number 34. Superstition, he says that's his favorite number. When he got here, Daniel McCutchen had that number. And Burnett paid $20,000 to Daniel McCutchen to take over number 34. Daniel said thank you very much. He and his wife were expecting their first baby at the time. Went into the college fund. So he gladly gave up number 34 for that.
And he's since gotten sent back to AAA, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Where the $20,000 will come in handy.
Superstitions of a baseball player, and in particular the number that they wear.
I really, thinking back on it, wish somebody would have wanted the number 49. We could have dealt.
Here's a 2-2 to Schumacher. Since that time, we've had, I think, Steve Klein has worn that number. So truly,
Juan Augusto.
You know, you guys, I think Ricky Horton, I think Steve Klein. I mean,
very
2 lefties,
similar.
right?
Very similar.
Very similar, both on and off the field.
Dyer Miller, of course, wearing that number right now.
3-2 pitch to number 55. Schumacher drives it into left center field. This could be trouble. That ball will get down. McCutchen able to get to it. They will wave in Molina. Throw coming in. No throw to the plate. Somehow Yachty scampers around the bases, and maybe on that play McCutchen is hurt. I didn't think there was any way Molina would score unless that baseball went over the wall on a fly.
Well, McCutchen tried to plant and throw, and something didn't feel right for him, so he actually stood still to throw and get the baseball in, and hesitated because of whatever injury he feels right as he's getting ready to plant. Now here he is running the ball down. Again, the field, and maybe that's where he did it, as he brings up some sod and he just has nothing in terms of his lower half to throw the baseball with. There's the foot getting caught, slides a bit.
See his ankle turn just a bit.
They cannot afford to lose that guy. We talk about the Cardinals and Yadier Molina. How about the Pirates and Andrew McCutchen?
Schumacher with the RBI. That's number 22. And so from one ankle injury to another, watch Yadi around the bases and give him credit. He's hustling all the way into third, then picks up Jose Oquendo right about there.
And he's trying kind of a half limp run.
So
for a guy that's had side issues, back issues, knee issues, and ankle issues.
So back-to-back hits, a single by Molina. He scores from first on the RBI double by Schumacher, and here's the 8th place hitter, Rafael Furcal.
Not exactly Enos Slaughter scoring from first base.
Not the mad dash, but Cardinals will take it. Corners are in here.
Yeah, situational hitting opportunity for Furcal.
Woof, turned on that pitch. But this is the side of the plate that we talk about with Rafael Furcal, especially with corners in and left side. They're trying to keep Schumacher close to the bag at second base with shortstop. That's Barmes. Alvarez is in on the grass at third. So big hitting lane to that left side.
No doubt. I mean, the goal is to hit the ball to the right side, but the first baseman Jones is kind of in on the cutoff because he's trying to charge the ball and keep that from working. So the real goal is to try to hit a ground ball to the second baseman or through the hole if you can. But you're right. Well, it doesn't matter now. They did it for us. That should be a pass ball, but my guess is it won't be. What I tell you. Wild pitch. I guess I can live with that.
It's a tough one to take if you're A.J. Burnett. Well, you have the pitcher on deck in Loesch that is a good athlete, can handle the bat. Chance here for Furcal. You think along with Mike Matheny about the potential of various plays he put on, but probably not from this side of the plate with Furcal if you're thinking squeeze.
No.
The 2-1 pitch. Puts it in play. A little tapper to the right side and a late call, and they will say it's a foul ball.
A late but emphatic call by Adrian Johnson, the first base umpire.
I think Chris Maloney wants to have a word with our first base umpire, the Cardinals first base coach, questioning that initially.
Going to be tough to tell whether or not this ball is fair or foul or not, but Jones's body may have hidden the umpire from actually where the ball was.
So the count is even, 2-2 with the infield drawn in. Furcal could tie it up.
You're talking about a squeeze, Dan. In my mind, you never squeeze with no outs.
No.
Ever. That's not even an option. 1 out. Much more preferable time for me to put on a squeeze. And the only thing about the never part is when you got a pitcher on deck, which is where we're at, so that at least opens up the door a bit more, but I'd rather let the guy swing the bat.
Furcal strikes out. Big strikeout, A.J. Burnett. And that is his third.
Much more likely to be a squeeze situation here with 1 out. Pitch ends up down and in. Really middle of the plate and down. Furcal just swung over the top of it. I think Rafi will look at that on video and replay, and a guy that doesn't strike out very much will say, I needed to put that ball in play.
Now it's up to Loesch with 1 down. Kyle struck out swinging first time up.
Infield in still. Trying to cut this run off.
Outfield is deep in center to an extent for Loesch, and that's McCutchen. Shallow in left, shallow in right. Infield in, the 1-0 pitch. Put in play, just tapped to the left side, but foul. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I'm not sure we talk enough about the athleticism of Kyle Loesch. He's become a much better hitter over time, but I'm not sure there's a Cardinal that's better at fielding his position than Kyle Loesch. I just think he does a great job of jumping off the mound on bunts. I think he's quick to the plate. I'm not sure if they've talked much about in the past about him being a Gold Glove type performer as a pitcher, but I think he's worth considering.
More times than not, we talk about Wainwright in that position. 1-1 pitch. Loesch up the middle. This game is tied. Loesch ties it up, and it's 2-2. Three hits in the inning. Kyle Loesch with his second RBI in this 2012 campaign. New ball game, 2-2.
Just put the bat on the ball, something good might happen. Exactly what happens. Hits down on it, right back up the box. Both infielders playing in. And how do the other starting pitchers react?
Wainwright gets into it, doesn't he?
I'll say. Oh, boy. He's all business the day he's pitching.
We're out to visit and break this up. You would have to think that from the Pittsburgh perspective of this inning, not just losing the lead, which you never want to do coming off a 7-0 loss and only 1 win in the past week, but their concern, I'm sure right now, is watching Andrew McCutchen to make sure that he is okay.
Yeah, and he waved everybody off and said, I'm fine, but I'm not so sure it wouldn't have been worth actually going out and having a more personal conversation with him about his ankle, because that's a pretty important ankle here in Pittsburgh.
You bet. Top of the lineup, John Jay. 2-2 game, 1 out. And a runner at first, short lead by Loesch. Jay with a fly ball into center. McCutchen, who steps in, makes the play. Back to first, Loesch. 2 outs, and it brings in Matt Carpenter.
Well, we're going to find out if somebody plugs a gap just what the extent of the injury of McCutchen is. You can't hide a guy in center field.
Not in this ballpark either. When
right.
It's 375 in right center, 399 dead center, and then it gets tricky in that bullpen area for both teams. You can see he's testing the ankle just to see how it feels, but it's 410 in left center out there.
Had it repeated again by Pirate personnel today that there is not a player that they've been around, and Clint Hurdle says personally the #1 player in terms of professionalism and comporting himself like a major league player that he's ever been around is Andrew McCutchen.
It's amazing, huh?
It really is.
That is ripped into right center. McCutchen on the move. He won't get it. One hops off the wall. They're going to wave in Loesch. Relay to the plate. It's in time, and they got him. Jose Oquendo testing the defense of the Bucks, and they come up with a strike to the plate. Loesch looked like he was out of gas when he got to third, and then gunned down. The strike to the plate by Harrison. Barajas just waiting for Loesch to come to the plate. The Cardinals, though, pick up 2. We're tied up here in Pittsburgh. A 2-2 game as we move to the home half of the 5th. Jose Oquendo, certainly you can question his motives in this move, sending the pitcher Kyle Loesch on a relay that was to perfection, with Harrison throwing a strike to the plate. And you question it with your pitcher running from first base, but also with the man coming up. Matt Holliday, who's had 89 RBIs. And watch Loesch. It looked like he almost was ready to stop at third.
Loesch really looked like he was slowing down between second and third. I don't think he thought about the possibility that Jose Oquendo would send him. And I think Oquendo reacting a bit to what we were talking about with McCutchen, that maybe he's not going to get to that ball quickly and get it in. It certainly was an aggressive move for Oquendo to send him. And again, that ball skips away from the catcher, and we're happy about it. So with Matt Holliday coming up next, that's the other thing you throw into this mix. And I guess I would say it's a bit of a 50-50 as far as I'm concerned. And I normally like the aggressiveness, but I could certainly make a case the other way.
Either way. And Loesch, Molina took his time walking out to the mound to let Loesch gather his breath and get ready to pitch in the bottom of the fifth. And we're underway. A slider taken outside.
Almost seemed like a slow track for Loesch the whole way, who actually runs pretty well, but he was not running well as he rounded second and headed to third. You mentioned kind of slowing up a bit, and I think maybe he was surprised that Jose Oquendo sent it.
1-0 pitch to Clint Barmes at the knees, and a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. Here's a 1-1. Swung on and missed by Barmes with A.J. Burnett on deck. And then Tabata due up third. Popped up. Molina will give it a look, and it's out of play.
So if you're Kyle Loesch, you're a little disappointed that you got thrown out at the plate and a little winded, for that matter, but you have to be happy with the fact that you participated in putting a 2 spot up on that board and answering the 2 that he'd given up in the bottom of the 4th, and now his job to face the bottom of the order and just get through a nice easy 1-2-3 inning, ho-hum Kyle Loesch kind of inning.
We saw Loesch bent over after he slid into home plate, and then after that Molina went out and just walked to the mound. Normally doesn't do that. Usually a little jog or hustling to the mound just to give Kyle Loesch a little time to gather himself. And you've done it, Rick. Been on base, and all of a sudden you have to pitch to get that mindset back.
Yeah, it's a different kind of, obviously a different kind of activity than you're used to as a pitcher. You don't normally get on base very often, but when you do, you find out that, you know, hey, that's pretty easy to get winded here, and pitching while you're winded does not work very well.
Base hit for the 8th place hitter Barmes, 3rd annual 6K run, September 16th. You can join Jackie Joyner-Kersee and Fred Bird. And a real key for this, if you've already signed up, remember they're asking you to fundraise and get your $75 in by September 9th. Top fundraisers get rewarded. All goes to a wonderful cause, and that is Cardinals Care, which has raised over $18 million since its inception back in 1997. Burnett has to bunt and bunts it foul.
You've been running so much lately, I bet you're as fast as Jackie. What do you think?
Not quite. Not quite, Mr. Horton.
One of the greatest female athletes in the history of the planet.
How about we just say one of the greatest athletes, period?
I would go with that, too.
And she is a part of Cardinals Care. She grew up, as we all know, in our area, Cardinal Country. As Burnett bunts it foul. Remember, orbital bone broken practicing bunting in spring training. You wonder if that's in the back of his mind every time he squares around.
Well, he was actually had made a big game out of the bunting in spring training, and he was really trying to get everybody kind of behind this kind of very competitive game, and so he may have eased back on that a bit, but how does it not come into your mind?
Very short lead at first, 0-2 the count. This time he bunts it in the air. Carpenter, though, throws it away. Trying to make an aggressive play. Barmes will stop at second base. So one way or another, the Pirates are able to advance Clint Barmes to second base. It was almost like You're trying to lead your wide receiver on that play and doing a little too much.
Yeah, Skip Schumacher was doing a post pattern instead of a curl, however, and Carpenter, who makes a great play coming in, throws to the second baseman who's not there yet. So trying to do a little bit too much. It ends up being the equivalent of a sacrifice bunt, but really an error by Carpenter. Cardinals' first error of the night.
Tabata is grounded out to short and also singled and scored back in the fourth inning. Loesch really labored last inning, then he was on base, and you wonder if that will continue in this inning. That's right down the middle for a strike. The 4 hits in the fourth inning, the most that Loesch had allowed in an inning since 4 in the third inning. You have to go back to a game in Atlanta on May 30th. Last time that had happened against Loesch. Here's a 1-1. Taken down and in. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Been hearing over our audio from time to time the verbal instructions of Jose Oquendo, who does a lot to set the defense. Always trying to get middle infielders' attention. He wants to make sure from pitch to pitch and count to count they're right where he wants them.
Here's a 2-1. Into right field, and the catch made by Beltran. Two down, and it brings in Snyder. A 2-2 game. What's on Tap brought to you by Budweiser. Back at it again tomorrow night. Westbrook 13-9 against James McDonald. 11-6 will come your way with the pregame show. Pat Paris is with us here. Jim Hayes will be back with the Mad Hungarian in St. Louis. What's on Tap brought to you by Budweiser. 5:30 tomorrow here on your home of the Cardinals all season long, Fox Sports Midwest. Snyder with a single and a base hit in the fourth, and also grounded out to second. Has a run scored. That catches the corner. Like to leave McCutcheon on deck. See him first up next inning. The 0-1 pitch in the dirt. Cardinals will face Wednesday night Wandy Rodriguez, the former Houston Astro. Lefty against Joe Kelly. Kelly is 4-5. Rodriguez 13 losses this year.
Has not pitched well since coming over from Houston. Hasn't gotten any better for him. He was on a tough team there in Houston and has not managed to win yet as a Pirate.
Couple of hops to first, and Craig will take it. Heart of the order coming up for St. Louis. Holiday, Craig, and Beltran. 2-2. We head to the 6th. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest, brought to you by AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. And by Ford, the official vehicles of the St. Louis Cardinals. Well, that's not going to work. And I'm sure our buddy Max Leinwand, who is producing the post-game festivities coming up on Fox Sports Midwest, is analyzing this with Al Brabowski right now.
I think you can break it down, yeah.
Al goes crazy over that thing.
So we got a lot of footage for them to work with.
Yep.
And I'm sure there's a big backstory there.
Telestrate. And not quite even enough, but it'll work.
It'll work unless the pitcher backs off the mound and trips over it.
It's quite the investment out there on the mound, too.
Talking about a guy that hurt himself ironing.
That's right. Upstairs to Holiday, who is left standing on deck as Loesch was trying to score from first and was thrown out on the base hit by Matt Carpenter. We're 2-2 here in the top of the 6th. Holiday is lined out to deep center and also a single back in the first inning.
Loesch very good at hitting corners. Burnett's been pretty smooth here tonight as well, and going to need to be with a 3-1 pitch to Holiday.
That's out to deep right, and this is out of here. Opposite field, muscled out of here. The strength of Holiday, and the Cardinals have the lead 3-2. RBI number 90, home run number 24.
And now I can definitively say that I wish that Jose Oquendo hadn't sent Kyle Loesch. It doesn't really work that way. Our Nissan drive of the game delivered by Matt Holliday. He is on a RBI streak of late. Hits that ball with good power the other way. 90 RBIs.
Here's Alan Craig. And Rick, when they knock Matt Holliday, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he has signed quite the extension to stay in St. Louis, and money becomes the focal point of any conversation, it seems like, in that regard. That every time you're up, you're expected to come through, and that's,
you can't do enough.
Not just, it's just not going to happen. And if you look though at this year, just even taking away the first 2 or 3 weeks, a lot of his RBIs have been this variety. Go ahead. The home runs now starting to pile up. Knock on wood, he stays healthy. He's going to wind up having 30 to 35 home runs and drive in 110 to 120, if not more.
Well, that conversation can go in a couple of directions when you start talking about the worth of a player, and you can't fault anybody for starting to question some of the salaries and the situation. But when you're talking about value of that contract per his performance here, I think the Cardinals are getting a good deal out of Matt Holliday. Right now, maybe the most productive hitter in the National League right now.
Barmes, he is slick at times, but not that time. He throws it away into the camera well, and he was trying to do a little bit too much. He signed with the Pirates, reunited with Clint Hurdle, and here in Pittsburgh they told him, you will be the starting shortstop. You'll replace Ronnie Cedeno, and most teams that talked to him wanted him at second base and not at shortstop. Had some fine years in Colorado. Commits the error there, and Alan Craig is in scoring position. A 3-2 ball game in favor of St. Louis. The 1-2 punch of Holiday and Beltran. You think about the 1-2 combination over the years. Great players, some of the biggest names that have ever worn that uniform. Stan the Man, Kenny Boyer, Bill White, Enos Slaughter was on that list, Albert Pujols. And now it's Carlos Beltran. A week from Wednesday, he has his fundraising night coming up September 5th. Entitled A Night in Old San Juan. Carlos does some wonderful work for kids in Puerto Rico, providing an education. He's built an entire high school. There's a grounder, and Barmes, a tricky hop, makes the play.
Going to raise money for the Carlos Beltran Foundation, and I've been in Old San Juan, and I appreciate Puerto Rico and loved my time there, and really still one of the premier Winter League destinations and places to play for a young player, and they just absolutely love baseball in Puerto Rico, and he's trying to bring a little bit of that style to that evening, and look forward to it.
Beltran has put in roughly $3 to $5 million of his own into the facility, and it's state of the art. starting to rain here in Pittsburgh. 3-2 St. Louis, and the pitch to Yachty is swung on and missed. Could be a crucial play in this ball game. The error by Clint Barmas, and this was right after the error.
Good hands, a short hop. That ball was hit very hard. Been some sloppy fielding moments here tonight on a sloppy night and a sloppy field. You wonder what the effects might be as the rain really increases here. Fans are going to start headed for cover. Mass exodus going on right now. A big run out there at third.
1-1 pitch, and the squeeze was on, but Molina could not put that in fair territory. It's a foul ball, and Craig retreats back to third. Rain has really picked up. You can hear it hitting our microphones located down on the field and throughout the ballpark. 1 ball and 2 strikes with 1 down. And the runner at third base, Alan Craig. Crew chief is Gary Cedarstrom. It's now in the umpire's hands, and looks like he may consult with his home plate umpire. He does, and they say, let's go, let's play. One way or another, you get the feeling this will come down to the bullpens tonight.
Agreed.
Here's a 1-2 pitch to Molina. Taken high.
We have fans that have been waiting all year to see a squeeze play, which is an exciting moment in baseball. They're running for cover, and the Cardinals try one as their backs are turned to the action. Doesn't seem fair, does it?
No, it doesn't. But then there was redemption as couldn't put it in play. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Yadier Molina, sitting on 61 RBIs. Fly ball into right. Craig will tag up and almost misplayed in right. And with the right fielder going back to make that catch, Travis Snyder did not get in position to throw. Run scores easily. That's Alan Craig, and RBI number 62 for Yadier Molina.
Snyder comes in on a ball that starts to move back over his head, and he has to have some athleticism to come up with it. And after getting the ball in, says, boy, look at this rain. I'm not sure how I was supposed to catch that ball.
They'll bring the tarp out following the at bat by Yadier Molina. His RBI number 62. Rain delays all season long, brought to you by our friends at Helitech, longtime sponsor of baseball and hockey and numerous sporting events here on Fox Sports Midwest. We appreciate that. Rain delay brought to you by Helitech. Heal your home with Helitech. Nice work done by the grounds crew along with Rick Horton, Pat Paris, Dan McLaughlin back with you, and a 4-2 St. Louis lead as the rain delay is just about through, and it looks like both starters are through for the night. We know one for sure, and that's A.J. Burnett. Jared Hughes, 6'7", 250 pounds, a right-hander, takes over for the Pirates, and the first batter is Skip Schumacher with the Cardinals leading by the score 4-2.
And very interesting, the Cardinals have Lance Lynn getting loose, so we would suspect that Kyle Loesch's night is through as well. Could be the perfect opportunity to get some bullpen work out of Lance Lynn. They're going to need his innings tonight. Short start for Kyle Loesch because of the rain. There's Lance. Loesch went 5 innings, gave up 2 runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts in 83 pitches.
Last time out on the mound, Jared Hughes was roughed up 2/3 of an inning 2 days ago. 3 runs on 2 hits, hit a man and walked 1. That's out of play. Hughes came in, and it was against Milwaukee. It was a 2-2 game. When he left, it was a lead in favor of the Brewers that they did not give up. Eventually opened it up to a 6-2 lead and hung on for the victory. 2-2 the count here on Skip Schumaker, who has an RBI double. That was back in the 5th, and he rips that one into right center, and it gets down. Base hit. Schumaker thinking 2. Wide turnaround first. McCutchen backing up the play, and Skip has his second base hit of the night.
Now 8 hits on this road trip for Schumaker. Sinking line drive to right. Again, we're going to be dealing with some treacherous outfield play going forward. Very difficult to get a good first jump. Inside pitch, turns on it. Good extension. And Lee Snyder was able to keep that ball in front of him. It goes toward the wall. It's a triple.
If he did not knock that down, McCutchen was not running all that well backing up the play, and lucky that it kicked to him. And you can see just the facial reactions. McCutchen is not quite right. There it is. He's hopping around out there. As you mentioned, Rick, they could ill afford to lose him. The 2-0 pitch to Furcal. It's a fly ball hit down the left field line and out of play.
Don't want to be his trainer or his doctor or speculate too much, because we'd have to ask him exactly what happened. But assuming that it's a slight sprain or some kind of an ankle issue, the assumption would be that during the rain delay he got that taped and got it worked on some and was able to test it and say he could go back out there. But you're going back out onto a field that's wet, slippery. We've already seen that the grass has come up a couple of different times, the sod, because of the weather. And again, you can ill afford to lose that man.
2 balls, 2 strikes with 2 down. Furcal chops it back to the pitcher. And the play is made by Hughes. Schumaker is left stranded, but the Cardinals in this inning pick up 2, and they pick up a lead. As the all-star starter, Lance Lynn, now working out of the bullpen, comes into the ballgame in relief of Kyle Loesch. The Cardinals have a lead of 4-2, and it's our first appearance looking at Lance Lynn coming out of the pen.
Let's cover the double switch first. Lynn's in the game. He's our Mid-America Chevy dealers called to the bullpen. Daniel Descalzo will now bat in the 9th spot. He takes over for Skip Schumaker, so Lynn will bat 7th. Yeah, this is an opportunity for Lance Lynn to perhaps get it right. Struggled his last 3 or 4 starts. Still having a very nice season with 13 victories.
Turn to our trivia question tonight. Brought to you by AT&T, who are the last 2 Pirates pitchers to win 16 games in a season. Remember A.J. Burnett closing in on that, but you have to go back to John Smiley, 20-game winner in 1991, and Zane Smith, 1991, for somebody that had more than those 16 or more wins, as McCutchen is starting on that swing and a fastball at 92 from Lance Lynn. Again, let's watch the swings here of Andrew McCutchen to see if that ankle or knee, whatever the case may be, is bothering him.
Lynn already throwing harder than he was in his last outing at 94.
Look at that. He's rearing back and just saying, here you go, 93. I talked to Lance at length in spring training when he was rehabbing down in the minor leagues, and also then joining the big club, just working on stretching and making sure he was ready to go. And I asked him about relieving, starting, the biggest differences, and he said one of the best things that happened to me was that in the minor leagues, one of my final starts a couple of years ago, I reared back and just let it fly. I took that mindset into being a reliever. If I knew I had to get 3 outs, you're going to get my best that I have coming. There's going to be nothing left in the tank. You can see already tonight, he is throwing hard.
And then what he did is he took that mentality that he learned by being a reliever and put it back into being a starter, and started off just rearing back and firing 6-7 solid innings, but has become lately gotten in the habit of
throwing more off-speed pitches and maybe easing up, not easing up, that may not be the right word, but maybe not establishing his fastball quite as well.
There's two things the Cardinals watch with Lance Lynn in particular. One, arm angle, see if he's on top of the ball, and two, how he finishes with his delivery. Is he falling off too much towards that first base line and not driving towards the plate? They realize there will be a little fall off, but not too much.
Yeah, when he falls off, what I see in that delivery is I just see kind of a sloppy delivery. I see things all going in different directions instead of being compact together and then exploding towards Yachty.
There's a fly ball into right center. Well hit. Jay is back, and he has it on the run. Up against the wall. The catch made by John Jay. One thing that separates John Jay from many in this position, the jumps. Not many false steps at all, and great jumps. He got a good one on this.
Good jump and a good angle. You can get a good jump and be running in the wrong direction, but he always seems to take an angle right to the ball. Almost overran that one, in fact. And there's a pretty good center fielder playing in Pittsburgh too, and Andrew McCutchen, but hard pressed to say that anybody's had a better year defensively in center field in the National League than John Jay.
Talking with John Jay the other day, he said on those plays, Rick, one of the reasons he's able to get to those balls is that he waits to pick up the glove hand until the last second and trying to conserve every bit of energy to get to those balls and making sure that he doesn't waste even a half a step to get there. And that last play is a good example. His positioning was very good, but also running. And then at the last second, when he knows he has to make the catch, is when the glove hand comes up.
And you can see the reaction time there. The ball's hit, and you'd say
right
a split second, not even that. A half a second later, he's on the move to that particular spot.
0-2 to Jones is a fly ball to John Jay.
You better catch this one because we've been talking good about you.
Well, if you're just joining us, we're at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Game 1 of 3. Cardinals and Pirates battle inside the Central Division, and also very important game for the wild card. Dan, Rick, and Pat with you. Al is back in studio with Jim Hayes. The game summary: Matt Holliday 2 for 3, another home run, his 24th. He now has 90 RBIs, and McCutchen 1 for 2 with an RBI. Pirates grabbed a 2-0 lead. The Cardinals have come back with 4 unanswered as John Jay ties a record with many. All 3 outs in his glove. Trying to stay busy one way or another. Football season right around the corner. Turns into
hacky sack. Pretty impressive actually there.
Pretty much so. Part of that double switch was Daniel Descalso.
I would say the low point of my baseball career was playing hacky sack with Fernando Valenzuela and Jesse Orozco in the laundry room in Oakland while the 3 of us were being introduced on the field for a World Series game, and we didn't know what time it was.
What did Tommy say about that?
He didn't say anything, but we all got the glare. It's funny. I never pitched in that series.
A lot of ways I could go with that. I'll leave it at that.
We were trying to win. I'll say it for you.
Most importantly, who won in hacky sack?
Well, it was a group thing. It was an us thing. We tried to see how long we could keep it going, and we were on a streak, and the game got in the way.
So the team is introduced. You yourself were not introduced personally, like
we were the
rest of the
Dodgers.
The group. Okay.
Sure.
But not to say you weren't a prominent member of that 1988 championship team. I would just have to say
just a
Fernando.
Just a guy.
Was
well, he was
big.
actually, I was on the roster and he was not. Tommy put me on the World Series roster. They didn't want him in the bullpen.
Sure. And
he was basically the 5th starter, so he got left off the roster and was in charge of hacky sack.
The strikeout of Descalso. That's one way to stay busy. By the way, Vince Scully has decided to come back at the age, I believe, of 84 for another season of announcing baseball games out in Los Angeles.
64 years.
Amazing.
Takes a little off. It dips down and away from Descalzo, and he's out in front. That's a great picture of what a change of speed does for you.
And that's a shot into left center that will get down. John Jay on his way to second base. Is he thinking 3? You bet. On his way to third and in safely with a triple. John Jay.
Hitting streak now extended to 8. Right out of the box. Head down. Cutting the corners well. Plays in front of him. By the time he gets to second, he knows where he's going. All the way to third.
1-out triple. And it brings in Matt Carpenter, who's been on base twice with a walk and also a double. That time with the double in the 5th, they tried to score Loesch from first, and he was gunned down on a relay. Infield is drawn in. And Carpenter looks at a strike.
I would bet there'd be a lot of teams in baseball right now that would like to have Matt Carpenter on their team.
You bet.
I'm not suggesting that the Cardinals trade him, but I think he's a guy that Mike Matheny has had a hard time getting at bats for, but I think he's earned more than he's gotten.
Here's the 0-1. Carpenter, bunt, and a foul ball. Nothing at 2.
Come on, Matty, get him in.
Jay was not running. I wonder if there was a mix-up in signs.
Or a safety squeeze.
That would be the other option.
Come on, now you gotta
Matt
run.
was talking about the fact his whole goal in spring training was to make the club as a utility player. And he knows that right now that's got to be his role, especially with Berkman on the horizon. Craig doing what he's done. We've talked about the outfield. Very tough to get playing time. I think some fans, and a logical question would be, how much time do they want to dedicate towards Carpenter potentially moving to second base? Could he play a little bit there? Alan Craig, could he play second? Puts it in play, slowly hit to the right side, and Carpenter is out.
Barely.
Doesn't do the job. Runner left stranded at third with 2 down and a chance for Matt Holliday.
John Jay's decision there is if the first baseman's going to get this ball, he can't go. And he sees that Garrett Jones, who's charging, will have time to get him there. And I'm not sure he stepped on the base or not. Harrison went to maybe the backside of the bag. That was a close play, as Jones had to flip that ball underhand a long way. There's the reach. There's the toe. Yeah, he gets it. Good call. Very good call by Adrian Johnson.
Harrison had a long way to go from second base to get to the bag, and now it's Holliday as Barajas wanted to go over a quick scouting report on Matt Holliday. And I'm sure the question is, do you want to deal with Matt Holliday, who is red hot, or do you go with Alan Craig?
I'm sure he went out there and said, hey, look, this guy's the Schnucks difference maker, so we have to be careful with him. But the guy on deck won a hungo last week, so pick your poison. Schnucks difference maker, hungo. Tough choice.
One ball, one strike. And people knew the late nights that Mike Helling and Tom Mee, our producer and director, put into thinking about the candidates for that hungo. I mean, they would be shocked. Time and effort that goes into that. And Al, too. Al has the final say. 2 balls and 1 strike.
It does bear his name after all.
Holliday is homered to right field. Also lined out to center, and a single. The 2-1 pitch. 2-2. Jared Hughes Pitched at Santa Clara, then he transferred to Long Beach State. It's a pretty good team. You got Hughes, then Tampa Bay third baseman Evan Longoria, Colorado shortstop Troy Tulowitzki, part of that club. That's some talent. Holiday, a swing and a miss. He strikes out, and Hughes pitches out of a little jam with one out and a runner at third. The Cardinals can't bring him in. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the world champion St. Louis Cardinals. Second inning of work for Lance Lynn. And the first inning, 3 fly ball outs to John Jay in center. Lynn in relief of Kyle Loesch. Loesch gave the Cardinals 5 innings before the rain delay. And late in the season, Rick, no need to press the issue on Kyle Loesch. And I'm sure there's a couple of factors that went into this as you get a look at Harrison digging in for the 3rd time. But you have the delay in the game, but also the fact was he was laboring a bit 2 innings ago.
Long 4th inning, 83 pitches. It was a short rain delay. I think there's certain magic bewitching time that maybe you get to 45 minutes or longer than that, and it becomes really not even a question because the pitcher's arm really cools down so much that you just have to do too much to keep it warm and ready and game ready. But the time not an issue here. We were right at 30 minutes or so, but I think the 83 pitches really played into it, and maybe the opportunity to give to Lance Lynn is part of it.
Mike Matheny before the game talking about Edward Mujica, and he has thrown a lot last week or so. So Mike looks at this as an opportunity not only for Lance Lynn, but byproduct of Lynn being out there. Mujica, hopefully for him, gets a night off. So in essence, the club has flipped roles with Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly. Kelly will make the start on Wednesday night. 2-2. Little chopper up the middle for Kyle to his left. Quickly to first, and they throw it away. Craig couldn't pick it. And Harrison is aboard, and the tying run will come to the plate.
Went a long way to get it. Off balance throw was in the dirt. And it took a funny hop there for Alan Craig. Trying to scoop it. Would have been a bang bang play at first base. Good speed for Harrison. Be very interesting what we'll see out of the Cardinals bullpen in the next couple of innings.
Both teams have committed 2 errors tonight. Rod Barajas will be the hitter. Throw a name at you, Rick, that is starting to garner a lot of attention. We've heard his name for years now, and that's Shelby Miller. He was the Pacific Coast League Player of the Week. 7 hits, 3 earned runs, a pair of starts over 12 innings. September call-ups, you wonder if there would be a place for Shelby Miller with a team that's in contention heading down the stretch.
Well, what he has done, Dan, is put his name back in the hat again. There was a time early in the season where he was not really on the radar anymore as one of the Cardinals' first or second guys you would want to call up because his command was not as good. He wasn't using his secondary pitches very well. But credit him for making some adjustments, and he's had a dynamite second half and become really the pitcher that the Cardinals had hoped he would be. And the question is that enough experience? Is 2 good months enough to deserve a call-up? It's a reasonable question, and baseball people would differ on the answer to that.
And to his credit, Shelby was saying, I did not deserve to be called up at any point in time this year. Joe Kelly was better than I was pitching. Dixon has been better at times.
Well, if he would have said anything different than that, then I would have questioned how attached to reality he was, because he was awful. I mean, awful.
And I bring up that point just because you are dealing, we forget, with a 21-year-old kid.
That's the point, Dan.
You know?
That's why you don't bring him up. Because if he's not sharp enough to handle the situation, you may be creating some bad experiences for him that he can't handle.
We have not seen Lance Lynn throw many off-speed pitches here in an inning plus out of the bullpen. It's been just rearing back, and here you go.
We saw that early in the season, didn't we?
Yes, we did. And as you noted, that's when he had the outstanding success throwing in that 92 to 93 times 94, 95 miles an hour range. There's the off-speed pitch, breaking ball. It's popped up. Craig is over near the stands and makes the play. Talked earlier about A.J. Burnett. Back of his mind with bunts. How much is it in the back of Alan Craig's mind every time he's around the stands?
I thought about that too, Dan, and he really didn't play that ball correctly. You're supposed to get to the stands first, but you could understand why he'd be tentative on that play. The important thing is he made it.
The knee injury last year in Houston. Earlier this season, Great American Ballpark thought he had more room on a pop-up, and then later we find out that he's been dealing with an injury for most of the season since that time. One out. Clint Barmes. Well, you know how important this game is for both these teams, but for Pittsburgh, trying to catch the Cardinals now. Only one win since their dramatic 19-inning win in St. Louis. So Grilly, who's been great for them, is up down by 2 looking at the 8th.
Well, you got to get him in.
Yep.
And that's the other problem with a team losing. When your bullpen is as good as the Pirates bullpen has been, Dan, their ERA is at 3, and they've got their rolls down pat. They've got guys just dealing in their bullpen. But when you're losing, they get out of sync. And it's very hard to use them in the roles that they're used to being used in. And then it's, you know, you're pitching a guy in a mop-up game, or you're pitching him in a different inning than you normally use him in a different situation. And sometimes that hurts your bullpen.
So the season series has been even between these two teams in 2012. The 2-1 pitch. A liner down the right field line and a base hit into the corner. Run will score. Clint Barmes makes it 4-3 in favor of St. Louis. And the air comes back to bite the Cardinals.
Barmes just goes the other way. Veteran hitter. Was not in the lineup originally. Neil Walker was supposed to play. He was a late scratch because of a sore lower back. Season series. Pirates bullpen ERA. Well, we're talking about 1.48. The Cardinals starters have been better. Pirates are 3rd in the National League in home runs and have had 11 in the 12 games against St. Louis.
Change here. Lynn will exit. We'll tell you about the move when we come back. Tight ball game, 4-3. Well, Mike Matheny made a rare appearance behind the plate, warming up Fernando Salas the other day.
Yes, he did.
Fernando is into the ball game, and this will be his 53rd appearance. You were telling me before the game you like what you've seen recently out of Fernando Salas.
Yeah, he's using his changeup a lot better, and he seems to be a lot more confident attacking the strike zone. And instead of kind of pitching behind and pitching, again, sloppy is the best word I can think of, and it's a word I use with Lance Lynn. When he's not going well, things just kind of just don't seem sharp. And he's been much better of late. They need him to be good tonight.
Sinking action from Fernando Salas. So Chevy called to the pen, 4-3 St. Louis. The tying run at second base. Go-ahead run is at the plate. Same pitch, same result. Swung on and missed.
He has such good arm action with his changeup. He has a explosive delivery, and the ball just doesn't come out fast. It gets choked by his finger pressure and the way he holds the baseball. So the batter's swinging at the arm, but the ball's not there yet.
0-2 on Clement. Salas with an ERA of 3.94 this year in those 52 appearances. 52 strikeouts to 21 walks. 2-2. The 2-2 pitch. High fly ball. Left field, Holiday calling out for Kyle to make the catch. There's 2 outs. Cardinals looking ahead to the top of the 8th. We'll have Craig, Beltran, and Molina coming up.
I love the way Furcal hustles on any ball hit into the shallow outfield area, whether it's left field straight up or left center field. He is sprinting to that ball until he hears somebody call him off. He very rarely, I don't think I've seen it, in fact, a time where he's kind of given up and given way, just assuming somebody's going to make the play. He's going until they call him off.
Fastball that's taken outside. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Tabata lays off that delivery. 2 balls and no strikes.
And Salas getting that seam and the raised finger grip that he will switch in his glove if he's going to change to a changeup or a fastball. He looks for the right seam first. That's really his curveball grip that he starts with. Finds that seam, makes the change in the glove.
3-1. Ground ball to the right side, backhanded by Craig to Salas, covering at first, and the threat is through. Fernando Salas, nice job out of the pen. 1-run lead for St. Louis as we head to the 8th. Welcome back to Cardinals baseball on your home of the Birds, Fox Sports Midwest. Let's go to our studio. Bommarito Sports Update, Jim Hayes.
Dan, thanks. Josh Beckett making his Dodger debut tonight, and it's a forgettable start for Josh. Second pitch, and Tyler Colvin says, welcome aboard. Solo shot his 15th, 2-zip Rockies, top of the 5th. Dan, Rick, we send it back to you.
Update these standings. Thanks, Jim. Bommarito Sports Update, the Central Division. St. Louis 6 out, Pittsburgh now 8. And the Cardinals, the Atlanta Braves atop the wild card. And we'll keep an eye on the Dodgers now. That's a very, very important score to watch for, playing at Coors Field in Colorado.
And they're a different team, the Dodgers. The Cardinals are going to have to hold them off. They're going to have to hold off the Pirates. Very interesting as we look at Jason Grilli's numbers that the sports page here in Pittsburgh referred to this series as a must-win series for the Pirates. And not long ago, we were talking about that as we were chasing the Pirates and the Reds, that, well, you know what, we better do it now. Well, panic's too big a word, but there's a sense of urgency in Pittsburgh that's very clear when you come to the ballpark. They believe they have to win at least 2 out of 3 of these games. I think if the Cardinals win 2 out of 3, that's good enough for me.
And I'd have to say that even though they had big crowds over the weekend, this being such a big series, announced crowd of 16,700 tonight. That's got to be a little disappointing. Alan Craig pulls it down the left field line, and this ball is off the base of the wall. Craig on his way to second base. Leadoff double. Looked like he was way out in front on his front foot and had to go down and get this pitch. We'll take a look here.
Grilly's so tough to hit too, but he hangs this one a bit in the middle of the plate. And he hooks it into the corner. Alan Craig, just a hitting machine, isn't he?
He certainly is. His second base hit. He has a run scored, 2 for 4, and now it's Beltran. And this is the guy really carried the team for a while, especially with Berkman out. Holiday, the slow start, but not Carlos. As you mentioned, he's been dealing with some issues at the plate, injury-wise, but see if he can't do some damage. He's 0 for 3 tonight. At least he wants to hit it to the right side to advance Craig. Cardinals coming off a series in which they pounded the baseball against the Reds. Over 40 hits in those 3 games. Good rip there by Carlos. Again, his fundraiser coming up a week from Wednesday. Day game in St. Louis against his former team, and then at the Four Seasons, a night in Old San Juan. Raise money for his baseball academy and Cardinals Care.
Que bueno.
You can log on to Cardinals.com, head to Cards TV or the community page. Did not go, held up. And when you go to that community page, go to Carlos Beltran Foundation and read about that foundation. Also see a feature, some of the pictures, and it is remarkable what he's been able to do with that academy and making sure that kids go to school. It's a bilingual school, but when they're inside the classroom, they only speak English. Two and two. Carlos said when he was brought over as an 18-year-old and drafted by the Kansas City Royals, did not speak English. He said everybody thought he was arrogant and did not want to listen. He said it wasn't that. I just couldn't understand what they wanted me to do. He was always in the back of lines, he said, during drills so that he could look and follow what the other players were doing and then understood what they were trying to accomplish. 3 and 2.
And much more of an issue when you get a player that comes from the Dominican than when they come from Puerto Rico, which of course is a U.S. Commonwealth, and the fact that so much of the business language and merchants are bilingual in Puerto Rico. There are pockets of the area that do not speak a lot of English.
That's right.
But Dominican, you've got a lot bigger problem when those young players come over.
Beltran pops it up. Is it playable? Near the dugout, it is. Tough night at the plate for Beltran. Hoping that things get serious tonight, because if the Cardinals score 6, any size drink just 50 cents all day tomorrow at your nearest On the Run at Mobile. This year, 6 is a serious number.
Big miss for Beltran right there. Yadier Molina, such an RBI machine. You really would like to see Alan Craig at third, especially against a guy like Grilly, who has been a strikeout machine. We mentioned it earlier, Dan. 72 strikeouts in 47 innings. That's Chapman-like.
Mitchell Boggs getting loose in the bullpen.
Call me maybe.
that's taken low and away. Jason Grilli, originally 4th overall pick out of Seton Hall to the San Francisco Giants. Played for 11 different minor league organizations. He's still playing baseball because of his love of the game. Spring training in Arizona with Cleveland a couple of years ago, he figured his career was through. He had a bone chip that had been floating in his knee for more than a decade. Went into an awkward position. It shredded his quad muscle, went up into his leg, and he said on a scale of 1 to 10, the pain was a 50. Had surgery, fought his way back, and here he is. 2-0 pitch. Molina with a high fly ball. Center field. McCutchen is back with room. Makes the catch. Craig will tag up from second to third. Yachty gave it a ride, 2 down.
Again, the significance of not getting Craig to third with
Huge.
less than 2 outs. And, you know, it's just baseball fundamentals, and it doesn't mean that you're going to do it every time. Certainly Beltran was thinking that way, just didn't get it done.
David Freese will be the pinch hitter. Ks per 9 innings in the National League. Chapman, astounding number. Kimbrel right there with him. And then Jason Grilli, 3rd best in the National League. Nearly 14 strikeouts per 9. His father Steve pitched in the major leagues for 4 years, worked as a scout for a long time. And here is Freese. Good to see him back out there, Rick.
You bet. Means so much to this team. 299 average, very productive with the 71 RBIs.
He's now wearing that protective foam-like top of the left hand as he pops it up and out of play, protecting that area. Remember, he broke bones in that area. Maybe a blessing in disguise last year against Atlanta. Had to sit out a long time and then came back, rested the ankles, byproduct of sitting out, and rest is history.
Good place to use him here.
1 ball, 1 strike. Craig the runner at third. 4-3 St. Louis. Looks at a strike. Last year for Grilli, 28 appearances. It had the lowest ERA of his big league career, and that's carried over to this season. And the crowd of nearly 17,000 will come alive. Strikeout of Freese. Home half of the 8th coming up. Cardinals trying to hold on. It's 4-3, bottom of the 8th. And a new pitcher is in for St. Louis.
First, we'll look at Jason Grilli, just why he's so nasty. Big fastball at the knees by David Freese, and he follows it up with this off-speed pitch. That's unhittable and very difficult to lay off as well after you've seen that fastball. Grilli, outstanding numbers today. Mitchell Boggs has been good himself. Game number 62, he's been durable. That's another big part of what we've seen from Mitchell Boggs, an ERA under 2.
2, 3, and 4 in the lineup here in the home half of the 8th. Snyder leads it off. He's grounded out to second. Single and a run scored, and also grounded out to first. Trying to hold on for Kyle Loesch. Ouch. That's one of the stories tonight. Alan Craig with 28 doubles now in 86 games. Cardinals as a team with 30 triples. They hit another one tonight. Most since 2003. One ball and one strike. Rick, you talked about the young team the Pirates have. Cardinals last year, young team. Many of those guys, though, but they got tested and came through. Won the World Series. You have to figure that that plays into this stretch run here in 2012.
Yeah, a young player that has a little bit of experience isn't quite so young anymore.
One of them is on the mound right now.
When you've played in key situations and had to pitch in October and had to pitch with a pennant race in front of you, that ages you a little quicker in this game. We focus on age a lot, Dan, but it's age and then it's experience and then it's maturity and it's ability. That all comes into play. Just being young doesn't really tell the whole story.
There's a strikeout to start the 8th inning for Mitchell Boggs.
Normally he pitches down in the zone, but he blows one by the left-hander Schneider up. Because if that's where Yachty wanted that particular pitch, a lot of lefties are low ball hitters.
Now Andrew McCutchen. When he was healthy, Joey Votto along with McCutchen, probably 1 and 2, take your pick for the MVP. And Votto will begin rehab assignment here. Looks like tomorrow. They hope to have him by the weekend. Cardinals are hoping Berkman joins him this weekend in Washington. Base hit. McCutchen is aboard. And he is not running well as he walks to first base. So one of the things you think about with McCutchen in this spot would be a steal, but you wonder if that's out the window because of what happened earlier with his leg.
And again, he's just 1 for 7 in stolen bases over the last few weeks anyway, and he's just not right, clearly. And you wonder how much of McCutchen we're going to see in this series.
Neil Walker, a late scratch in this lineup. Big loss, and now it's Jones, who has big power. We've seen Lance Lynn, Salas, and now Mitchell Boggs. Lefty getting loose in the pen. Hanrahan on the left, the outstanding closer for the Pirates, getting loose. Cardinals with Zepchinski up and throwing. Jones 0 for 3. Mitchell would love that ground ball here. Double play. Strike on the outside corner and a nasty pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Getting ahead a bit, but if Mitchell Boggs is able to get Garrett Jones, do you bring in Zepchinski to face Alvarez? If the answer to that is no, he wouldn't be warming up right now. Mike Matheny, I think, has made that decision in his mind to have him ready.
Ground ball, there it is. Can they turn 2? The flip to second, on to first. Not in time. Nifty play started by Descalso. The flip out of the glove, and they nearly turn 2.
Why infielders have smaller gloves in the middle of the infield, so you can make plays like this. You can just flip it from the backhand. For a call, barehands it, and then the throw not in time. And here comes Mike Matheny, and we will see Mark Zepchinski.
And with that, we step aside. 2 down. Cardinals up by a run. Interesting move here. Mark Zimchinski, the lefty, coming in. And it's interesting in the fact, Rick, that you had Garrett Jones up. And I mentioned earlier that last year he had done most of his damage against right-handed pitching.
Absolutely.
So Boggs stays in to face him, but then with Alvarez here, they don't want to take that chance, and they'll go with Zimchinski in this spot.
Yeah, it's curious why Zimchinski wasn't either in to face Jones in the first place and pitch to both lefties back-to-back.
Exactly.
You
Or
also
just keep Boggs in.
Well, and you also have the issue, and it's always true, that if you've been bringing Zimchinski in to pitch to Jones, you really would be having Zimchinski pitch to Gabby Sanchez. And that's the difference. And
Sure.
Alvarez, with 2 outs, I think it makes sense for that reason for Zimchinski, because they're not going to pinch hit for Alvarez.
So here we go. 2 outs. Runner at first. Ground ball for Cowell, deep in the hole, and no play. The shift was on for Alvarez, and for Cowell was on the outfield grass playing towards second base. So what would have been, you'd have to figure a routine out if you're straight up, turns into a very tough play.
And I think you have to go get Jason Mott right now, because you got a right-handed batter and you got the game on the line. There's the shift you're talking about. Right up the middle was Furcal.
Took a while for Descalso to get to the bag if he had a force at second, and that was not going to be the case. And Mike Matheny wasting no time. He will ask his closer to get the final 4 outs. The game on the line. 4-3 when we come back. So Jason Mott is in. He's had saves in 35 opportunities. He has 30 on the year. 2.63 is his ERA. It's been a while since we have seen Jason Mott, so he is rested, and usually that means he's coming in throwing smoke one way or another, but especially with the rest.
And he's coming in with the game on the line. 4-3 St. Louis, 30 saves, 4th in the National League in that department. And Jason Mott has been very consistent this year. And his first task is Josh Harrison. Think about the bench of the Pirates. And Neil Walker missed the start, but maybe he could hit. Might be available to pinch hit. They have Gabby Sanchez on their bench. Michael McHenry has shown some pop.
Runners at first and second for Harrison. In a year that has seen so many closers get hurt, miss significant time, a constant at the back end of games, Jason Mott. .1-0 pitch to Harrison. Ground ball for Cowell is there. Flip to second. Mott gets out of the jam, sends us to the 9th inning. And here in game 1, St. Louis on top, 4-3.
We're back in Pittsburgh heading to the 9th inning. Immediately after the game, of course, it is Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live. Jim Hayes and Al Roboski in studio. Al's going to talk about Lance Lynn's return to the pen. They'll also discuss Matt Holliday's hot streak that he's on, plus plenty of reaction from inside the clubhouse and some mic'd up Mike Matheny and his club with a 1-run lead going to the 9th. Dan and Rick, back up to you.
So far, Pat, so good. The moves that he's made have paid off. Righty, lefty, righty, and it pays off. And now a lefty coming in. Watson for the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is Tony Watson. 15 walks to go along with 40 strikeouts and just over 40 innings of work. Pat Parrish, you just saw him. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you. Jim Hayes is back in the studio with the Mad Hungarian, Al Roboski. Hope you're enjoying this one. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Mott will have 7, 8, and 9 looking ahead to the home half of the 9th. It'll be for Cowell, Descalso, and John Jay for St. Louis.
Tony Watson has been a good pitcher in the Pirates bullpen, but his numbers were better in the early going. So his ERA now over 4. But the left side of the bullpen has been an issue really for St. Louis all season long. And if you have to look at maybe some of the issues that the Cardinals have had and say, where's the place we maybe need to shore up a little bit more going forward, it's the left side of the bullpen.
Alvarez playing in, anticipating the potential bunt laid down by Furcal. 1 ball, 1 strike. But Felix Hernandez, he throws another shutout tonight. He has 5 this year. And Rick, 4 of those have been 1-0 wins for Felix Hernandez.
Not much offense there in Seattle.
Wow. Kyle looks at a strike on the inside corner.
Alan Craig led off the Cardinals 8th with a double, and the Redbirds were unable to score him. You just hope that doesn't become an issue, and Jason Mott goes out for the bottom of the 9th. He'd prefer to have a couple runs than just that one.
Kyle is tagged out for the out. The reason we bring up the matchups with Mike Matheny and going with the lefty and then going with Mott at the back end of that 8th inning is that Mike, for the most part, he leaves Mitchell Boggs in for the 8th inning. Righty, lefty, doesn't matter who's up at the plate. That's normally who he's going to go with, and he will extend him to get those 3 outs.
I think the reason could be that he wants to build something into Zepchinski in close games, because in his mind he's going to need him. And if you're going to play deep into not only September but hopefully into October, you're going to have a left-hander that's doing something in your bullpen.
I will counter that by saying I agree and I understand your thought process there. The problem is you're running out of time. You know, those are moves in April and May, not in late August with a pennant race.
You're playing with fire at the very least.
You bet. Descalso pops it up and out of play.
Watson fielding his position.
That's not Alex Rodriguez running down the line. Kyle just takes the tag. You may remember that. Elbow up. Mott, by the way, 3 of 5 in save opportunities, of 4 or more outs this season.
And the line from our truck that I wish I would have thought of is that was very elementary, Mr. Watson. We have a funny truck, Dan.
There's something. Here's a 1-2. Off the end of the bat, back to Watson. And there's 2 away. John Jay. A triple back in the 7th. Fly to left, fly to center. Reached on an error in the 1st, then was picked off. Game that began with a pair of right-handers having tremendous seasons. A.J. Burnett and Kyle Loesch. Saw a rain delay that knocked both pitchers out. And it's been up to the bullpens since then. Ground ball to second. Mott will try to finish this one off. Redbirds lead it 4-3. Budweiser player of the game, Kyle Loesch, the starter tonight. 83 pitches, 5 innings, 5 hits, both runs earned. Cardinals with a lead of 4-3. Mott being asked to get the last 4 outs to pick up the save.
On July 1st, Dan, the Pirates had won 4 straight games. They were playing the Cardinals in St. Louis, and Jason Mott was asked to get 4 outs in that game. He came in with a couple of runners aboard, got an out in the 8th, and he's trying to do the same thing here tonight. He'll face, as you said, 7, 8, 9. Rod Barajas, task number 1.
Big game, and the Pirates, for them, unfortunately, comes down to the lower half of their lineup to try to extend it. 7, 8, and 9. Barajas, Barmes, and then the pitcher's spot. Fly ball, left field. And with room, Holiday is there. 2 outs away from the victory. Gabby Sanchez, former Marlin, will be the hitter. The Reds leading their ball game 2-1. That's in the top of the 4th.
They had a bit of concern when that ball went off the bat of Barajas. It didn't seem to carry very well down the left field line. A few balls have not today, although Matt Holliday's ball certainly carried into the right field bleachers. That ball was hit more on the line, but balls way in the air just have not seemed to go very deep today.
Michael McHenry is moved in the on-deck circle, so clearly Neil Walker, all the treatment that they did the last 2 hours, you would figure didn't work, can't play tonight. If you're not going to use him here, he's done for the night.
Agreed.
Late scratch, lower back issue. 0-1 pitch to Sanchez. The cutter misses low and away.
All night we've been hearing Jose Oquendo whistle and move run the defensive players. Doing the same thing right now, communicating with Daniel Descalzo, the second baseman. He wants him to be, well, right where he is right now. Moved him a couple of steps.
1-1 pitch. Cardinals guarding the line as closely as you can down at third. Pitching more than an inning this season. Mott 1.80 ERA. So very close to the line. David Freese. Middle infield bunching a little bit towards the second base bag. Liner into right should be caught, and it is casually by Beltran, and there's 2 away. Ball was smoked, but Carlos barely even moved.
Well, this game has been sloppy in a lot of ways, Dan. We've had 4 errors in this game, 2 for each team. But the Cardinals are just 1 out away from a very big win in game 1 of this series. McHenry has some power. Done a nice job behind the plate for Clint Hurdle. 11 home runs. What a way to start the series this would be, after taking 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati.
And doing it against A.J. Burnett. Strike 1. McHenry, we've seen it. He's got a little pop. The cutter caught the corner for the strike. No balls, 1 strike on Michael McHenry. It's a spot again. That's strike 2, and that pitch at 98 from Mott. Cardinals trying to pick up win number 71. The 0-2. Cutter misses low and away.
A win would put the Cardinals at plus 14 for the first time this season, and separate them from the Pirates by 3 games in the Central.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Got him! Cardinals take game 1. 4-3 the final. Mott gets the final 4 outs in a big win for St. Louis.
Bullpen was able to get a lot of outs the last couple of innings. Kyle Loesch picks up the victory. That's victory number 14 for him. He's 14-2. And Jason Mott, save number 31.
Cardinals with the win, now 71-57. Pittsburgh 3 games back of St. Louis. Tomorrow night, it'll be Westbrook and McDonald. And we'll come your way at 5:30. Don't go away. The Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live postgame show is next. What a win in game 1.